Commander Vex stood in the center of the training arena, her crimson scales gleaming under the harsh lights of the station. Around her, a crowd of alien soldiers had gathered, representing a dozen species from across the Galactic Coalition. They murmured among themselves, exchanging bets and predictions in half a dozen languages. At the far end of the arena stood Private James Walker, the only human assigned to Outpost Sentinel. He was stretching his shoulders, rolling his neck from side to side with casual movements that made Vex want to laugh. The human looked absurdly fragile compared to her own species, the Corthan, where her people stood over 8 feet tall with armored hide and natural weapons. The human barely reached 6 feet and possessed skin that looked like it might tear if you breathed on it too hard. "This is your champion?" Vex called out to Captain Roran, the station commander. "This soft thing?" Roran, a 4-armed Pelthian with wise eyes, simply nodded. "I would not underestimate him, Commander." Vex laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "I have brought my finest war beast across 3 star systems for this demonstration. The creature has killed armed warriors in 7 different arenas. It seems a waste to use it on something so delicate." The war beast in question waited in its holding pen at the arena's edge. It was a Dracther, a species bred specifically for combat on Vex's home world. 12 feet of scaled muscle, razor claws, and teeth designed to shear through armor plating. The creature's eyes glowed with a dull red hunger as it watched the human through the energy barrier. James finished his stretching and looked up at Vex. His eyes were an unremarkable brown, set in a face that showed neither fear nor bravado. "Whenever you're ready, Commander." Vex gestured to her subordinate, who began powering down the holding pen's barrier. "I will give you a weapon, human. Choose whatever you like from the armory. It will make no difference, but I am not without honor." James shook his head. "I'm good with what I brought." He held up his hands, showing them to be empty except for what appeared to be strips of cloth. As Vex watched, he began wrapping his hands methodically, winding the fabric around his knuckles and wrists with practiced efficiency. "Bare hands?" Vex's laugh echoed through the arena. "Your species truly is insane." The barrier dropped. The Dracther exploded forward with terrifying speed, its claws tearing gouges in the arena floor as it charged. The crowd fell silent, expecting to witness a massacre. James moved. His body shifted laterally with impossible fluidity, and the Dracther's first strike missed him by inches. The beast's momentum carried it past, and James was already moving again, staying just ahead of the creature's snapping jaws. He was not running away, Vex noted with surprise. He was circling, observing, studying the beast's movements with an intensity that seemed at odds with his relaxed posture. The Dracther spun faster than something its size had any right to, lashing out with its tail. James ducked under the strike and closed distance instead of retreating. His fist shot out, connecting with the beast's lower jaw with a sharp crack that rang through the arena. The Dracther's head snapped to the side. It staggered, shaking its massive skull as if unable to process what had just happened. Vex felt her breathing slow. That should not have been possible. The creature's bones were denser than titanium alloys. James did not wait for the beast to recover. He moved in a way that Vex had never seen before, his body flowing through positions that seemed to defy his species' anatomy. When the Dracther lunged again, James dropped low and drove his shoulder into the creature's foreleg. There was a sound like cracking wood, and the beast roared in pain as its limb buckled. "What is he doing?" Vex whispered. Captain Roran stood beside her now, watching with his arms crossed. "Judo, I believe, combined with boxing and perhaps some wrestling. Humans have spent thousands of years developing methods to break things larger and stronger than themselves." The Dracther was favoring its injured leg now, but it was far from finished. It had been bred for this, trained to fight through pain that would kill lesser creatures. It charged again, and this time its jaws came within a hair's breadth of James's shoulder. But the human had turned into the attack, not away from it. His arm wrapped around the beast's neck as they collided, and his body weight dropped suddenly. The Dracthyr found itself off balance, its own momentum used against it. James's legs wrapped around the creature's neck, and he twisted his entire body with violent precision. The sound of the Dracthyr's neck breaking was like a gunshot. The creature collapsed, its massive body hitting the arena floor with a thunderous impact. It twitched once, twice, then lay still. James rolled away and came to his feet in one smooth motion. Breathing hard but otherwise unmarked, the arena was absolutely silent. Vex stared at the corpse of her war beast, the creature she had raised from a hatchling and trained for 5 years. The animal that had survived battles with armed warriors now lay dead at the hands of an unarmed human who looked like he belonged in a medical ward. Not a combat arena. James unwrapped his hands slowly, winding the cloth strips back into neat coils. He looked up at Vex, and she saw something in his eyes that made her scales prickle. Not cruelty or aggression, but a calm certainty that was somehow more frightening. "Humans are endurance predators, Commander," Captain Muron said quietly beside her. "On their world, they evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They can run for days without stopping. They can survive injuries that would kill most species. And they developed hundreds of fighting systems based on one simple principle. Everything has a structural weakness, and force applied to the right point at the right angle can break anything." Vex watched as James walked to the edge of the arena, accepting a water container from another human soldier. He drank deeply, then poured some over his head, running his hand through his sweat-dampened hair. "So ordinary, so fragile-looking." "Your war beast was impressive," Roran continued. "Truly one of the finest I have seen. But it was designed to fight other beasts, other warriors who would meet strength with strength. Humans do not fight that way. They are tool users, problem solvers. They see combat as a puzzle to be solved, not a contest of raw power." One of Vex's subordinates approached, his voice uncertain. "Commander, shall we file the incident report? The human killed your beast." Vex was quiet for a long moment, watching James join a group of human soldiers who clapped him on the back and laughed about something. They looked so small compared to the other species on the station, so vulnerable with their thin skin and lack of natural weapons. "No," she said finally. "No report." The human was defending himself in a sanctioned combat exercise. She paused, her mind racing through tactical calculations. "Send a message to the Corthan High Command. Tell them I am formally requesting a transfer of human soldiers to serve as combat instructors for our forces." Her subordinate blinked in surprise. "Commander?" Vex gestured at the fallen Dracthyr. "If one unarmed human can do this, imagine what a platoon of armed humans could accomplish. Or better yet, imagine our own warriors trained in these techniques, combining Corthan's strength with human tactical thinking." Captain Moran smiled, a knowing expression crossing his alien features. "I will approve the request, Commander. Though I should warn you, training with humans is not easy. They have a saying, 'Pain is weakness leaving the body.'" Vex turned back to watch James, who was now demonstrating something to a group of fascinated alien soldiers, moving through the motions of the technique he had used to kill the Dracthyr. His movements were precise, efficient, beautiful in their economy of motion. She had come to this station believing she understood warfare, believing her species' natural advantages made them superior fighters. In the space of 5 minutes, a human had shattered that belief as thoroughly as he had shattered her war beast. The fragile-looking human caught her eye across the arena and nodded once, a gesture of respect between warriors. Vex returned the nod, Feeling something like humility for the first time in her military career, she would learn from these humans. Her people would adapt, would grow stronger by understanding how these seemingly delicate creatures had made themselves into such effective killers. And perhaps, she thought, the rest of the galaxy needed to understand something important about humans. They were not strong in spite of their fragility. But because of it, evolution had given the Korthan armor and claws. It had given humans something far more dangerous. The desperate ingenuity of a species that had survived by learning to kill things that should have killed them first. As the crowd began to disperse and technicians moved to remove the Dracthar's body, Vex made a decision. Tomorrow, she would ask the human to teach her. Not because she had been defeated, but because true warriors never stopped learning, and these humans, she was beginning to realize, had much to teach.